When it comes to content creation, there is no subject for which I have created more than the 2005 video game Shadow the Hedgehog. From recording interesting glitches with a 240p video card to doing response videos to negative reviews, this game has stuck with me throughout the years. I've even talked about it on this YouTube channel from time to time. Okay, enough with the deja vu. I made a video in 2023 about the route that I thought to be the most likely to be canon out of the 326 possible routes you can take. With that many routes to take, there are plenty of interesting ones you can do. I thought I'd make a sequel video of sorts, elaborating more on the canon route while also mentioning a few others that are interesting. There are 18 routes to talk about, so let's not waste any more time. A New Empire's beginning. You go pure normal the whole way through except for Lava Shelter, where you do hero. Just 6 goal rings. If you played Shadow the Hedgehog, I would guess there is a 90% chance this is the route you did first. I know I did because I thought doing a different mission would mean forgoing a Chaos Emerald at first, and then by the time I got to Sky Troops, the first level on this route without a Chaos Emerald, I already had my mind set on just doing goal rings. It's the single simplest route in the game and frankly counts as a bit of a tutorial of sorts, since it does not ask much of you at all. Punishment, Thy Name is Ruin. This route is just doing dark all the way, labeled Route 001 because they are listed by how early, if at all, Shadow does dark missions. Until recently, I remember Nintendo Power insisting in its article covering Shadow the Hedgehog that the Pure Dark and Pure Hero routes would have exclusive ending cutscenes, one of those high-quality ones made by Studio Blur. Imagine my shock when I beat both of them and was greeted with absolutely nothing special. Recently, I dug up archived PDFs of issue 195 of Nintendo Power, and found out it never said anything of the sort. The brain is pretty good at making false memories. Revenge at Last. Our previous venture is the result of doing nothing but dark missions, but I would argue that Route 011 is even more evil than that. In this route, Shadow does not help Eggman defend his fortress and cryptic castle, instead going normal. Eggman is more of the neutral partner in this game. He's hero if the opposition is the Black Arms, and dark if the opposition is Sonic's friends and Gun. Because going dark is helping Eggman, a human, defend against the Black Arms, Shadow ignores him. Then, Black Doom makes him remember the tragedy aboard the Ark. Shadow becomes fully convinced that humanity must go, and tries to change fate by fighting off the humans, but when it is proven to be just a memory, his hatred still lingers. This route then plays similarly to the Pure Dark route. Funnily enough, the only ending where Black Doom wins is Black Comet Dark, because if you are so evil as to go to Gun Fortress, Shadow either destroys the Earth, presumably with a fully charged Eclipse cannon, or betrays Black Doom. It's never outright said what Black Doom wants from the humans, but it's hinted to be either servitude or a food source. A missive from 50 years ago. Pure Hero. There is no special cutscene, which makes me sad. On one hand, it might seem like a waste of resources to make a cutscene for a single route, but on the other, these two are some of the most common players will experience. It is not like they would have done one just for, say, The Legend of Shadow. I Know the Will of Heaven. This route is the one I would consider to be the most fun to play. Of the 3 second stages, Lethal Highway is by far the best one. While it's a tough battle for me to say whether I prefer Hero or Dark for it, I think Dark slightly takes the edge because of how exhilarating it is to just gun it for the goal. From there, you get to Sky Troops because it is overall a more fun stage than Mad Matrix, then go to Space Gadget, then Final Haunt Hero, where you and Sonic go on an alien-busting mission. There are other contenders for routes that are amongst the most fun, however. You could go Hero on Lethal Highway instead, then grab Rings in Circus Park, race through Death Ruins to Space Gadget, and then Final Haunt again. Basically, as long as you hit Lethal Highway, Space Gadget, and Final Haunt Hero, you really can't go wrong. Now, let's contrast that to Fighter for Darkness. If I wanted to make myself suffer intentionally, this is the route I would take. The combination is normal, hero, normal, dark, dark, dark. The Pass de Resistance is Mad Matrix Dark. As far as I'm concerned, it is the worst mission in the game. I know, the levels with Maria can also be pretty bad, but that can be mitigated with memorization. In Mad Matrix Dark, you are riding the rails and choosing to go left or right, left or right, left or right. With that said, the other two pieces that bring this together are Glyphic Canyon Hero and Black Comet Dark. Glyphic Canyon just because it's a less fun alien hunt than Westopolis, and Black Comet because the dark colors of the comet do not fit well with the dulled colors of the gun mechs. The Spun Threads of Fate. Also called Me and My Pal Sonic. You do Hero if Sonic is your partner, and Normal if he is not. While not a perfect mirror to Revenge at Last, it follows a very similar concept. There are multiple routes for this potential mishap, so I'll just choose one: Faith taken from Solitude. Essentially, take any route that gets you to Prison Island, then do Dark, then at the Doom do either Dark or Normal, then get to Black Comet and do Hero. Eggman is not mentioned once in the campaign, yet he appears out of nowhere on the Black Comet and faces you as the final boss with his finest creation yet: a roulette machine that shoots missiles at itself. Genius. Surprisingly, not out of character for Eggman. Wandering's End. In this one, Shadow becomes an honorary member of the Chaotix. Do normal missions unless your potential partner is Charmy, Espio, or Vector. If so, help them. For love's sake. Oh boy, the route I consider to be canon. You might want to go watch that video for more context, but the abridged version is to do Dark first, then Hero the rest of the way through. Since I made that video, Shadow Generations came out, and my opinion on this route being canon has only gotten stronger. With the release of Shadow Generations comes the release of Gerald Robotnik's journal. He mentions that at one point the artificial chaos in the Ark went crazy, and Shadow raced across the Ark to neutralize them. This means that Lost Impact Hero is canon. You can make the argument that Shadow going through the memory and insisting that Chaos Emeralds or candies to be taken from babies might not be canon if you really wanted to, but the events of Lost Impact Hero itself are canon. Professor Gerald's diary is actually quite the interesting read. It does a pretty good job of backwards detailing events. The diary also mentions the Gizoid, which also appears in Dark Beginnings, leading to the strong suggestion that Sonic Battle is canon, a game where Shadow has his memories of the Ark and Maria. The simple solution for this seemingly weird continuity error is to place Sonic Battle after Shadow the Hedgehog, and assume Shadow does get his full memories back in Shadow the Hedgehog, even though Sonic Battle was released before Shadow the Hedgehog. Well, would you look at this? While I was working on this very video, Sega released a timeline on Sonic lore, and the events of Shadow the Hedgehog happened before Sonic Battle. I'm pretty sure from an outsider's perspective it looks like I'm cheating, but I swear I started working on this video before this information came out. You believe me, right? Right? Shadow Generations also further reinforces the idea that just because Shadow put his past behind him in Shadow the Hedgehog doesn't mean he didn't reclaim those memories. Rouge will mention near Chaos Island how his past just constantly seems to come back to haunt him despite his previous decision. The fact that Shadow Generations takes place at the same time as Sonic Generations actually does a service to Shadow's character in a way. The Sonic Twitter takeover I mentioned in the previous video? Shadow volunteering at the soup kitchen makes more sense now that he's met with Maria one last time. Plus, as much as it is a disservice to his character, the fact that he became borderline obsessed with being better than Sonic in later games makes more sense now that he's much more willing to acknowledge his past while still looking forward. Comments on my video have brought up a lot of suggestions for what could and could not be considered canon, and how it contradicts my supposed route. Two worth addressing were statements made in expert mode, and how the end of the main story ties into the beginning of the last story. For expert mode, some have suggested that Cryptic Castle Hero is canon, because Cream thanks Shadow for rescuing her. While it sounds plausible at first, it falls apart when you consider the possibility that expert mode itself is not canon. After all, both Maria and Black Doom talk to Shadow and cheer him on, and both of them are as dead as Malcolm in the Sixth Sense. At least, they are during the time expert mode would take place. The other suggestion is more interesting, that Black Doom would not be so chummy to Shadow after Shadow just kicked his ass. To this I say, why not? I know it sounds crazy, but stay with me here. The command from Black Doom was for Shadow to find the 7 Chaos Emeralds and bring them to him, which is technically what Shadow did, even if it was unwittingly and done in direct opposition to the alien warlord. In a way, the fight between Shadow and Sonic against Black Doom was a catch-22, because regardless of which side won, the 7 Emeralds were all in the same place, as planned. While no single route fits perfectly, I would say doing Dark on Westopolis and then going Hero the rest of the way makes the most sense, or at least makes the least nonsense. Twilight Arc. Introduced to me by YouTuber Don Schnack, a different route called Voyage of Reminiscence is one that can be done with Shadow injuring 0 enemies. You need some help from Espio and the like to get bosses out of the way, and it is not easy, but it can still be done. But what if I told you there were another Pacifist route? It is very similar to Voyage of Reminiscence. Normal, normal, Hero, and then instead of Hero in Mad Matrix, you do normal to go to Space Gadget. Don Schnack got stuck on this platform because you need to defeat the black armed soldiers to make it move. But there is actually another route to the Chaos Emerald, and that is going the dark route, accessible only by destroying the second defense device, then ignoring the rest until you reach a warp that takes you to the goal ring. If you are looking to do the normal mission on Space Gadget without having to wait for the timer to run out, going the dark route to the goal ring is a pretty good option, as it takes more time to do, though you can still get there in under 5 minutes if you're quick enough. Regardless, do dark on Cosmic Fall, have Vector whittle away at Eggman's health bar, and beat the game without Shadow having injured a single enemy. Destruction from Perfection. Do normal in Westopolis, where Shadow will tell Black Doom,
"No one tells me what to do."
Then dark the rest of the way until Gun Fortress, where you do hero, and Shadow says to Black Doom again,
"Yeah, well, I told you. No one tells me what to do."
Shadow says something similar if you go to Lethal Highway instead, but here it is much more direct. If you want more laughs, do Digital Circuit, then get to Gun Fortress Hero, where Shadow is a straight-up liar. Died in Lovely Darkness. A more appropriate title would be Died in Lovely Blood, but we gotta keep that E10 rating. This route is ensuring maximum ultra-violence. You fight Gun at Westopolis, Prison Island, the Doom, and Black Comet, with 2 instances of fighting gun bosses to boot. That's 4 out of 6 missions, with the other 2 involving goal rings. Basically, if there's no humans to fight, Shadow just keeps moving forward until there are some. Imprisoned by the Past. This one gets really dark. Shadow has 2 instances where he fights gun soldiers, then meets Maria and remembers her, helping her save the Ark researchers, where he turns hero then on. He saves the world, but realizes, not only from Maria's death on the Ark, but his earlier rampages in Westopolis and Prison Island, that he only brings death and destruction wherever he goes. He becomes overwrought with guilt. It's never outright shown that Shadow commits seppuku in the slightly hero ending, but a lot of route names will surely imply it. The Tragedy's Conclusion, Journey to Nihility, Shadow's Second Death with 3 dots to boot, really pushing the envelope of that E10 rating there. Darkness's Strongest Soldier, also known as Fuck You Knuckles. This route involves meeting Knuckles a whopping 3 times, and every time you see him, you go dark. That's it. That's the joke. A Dark Myth's Beginnings. Shadow goes hero twice with the help of Sonic, but at the sight of Tails, becomes evil. Going dark from here on out will have you see Tails twice, and both times, whether it's with Eggman or Black Doom, you work in opposition to him. You do hero at Gun Fortress, of course, because you don't want to betray Sonic. Remember, Hedgehog's good, Fox is bad. After all, they are natural predators to hedgehogs, but only if they're really hungry. The Pursuit of Dr. Eggman. There are numerous routes you could take if you wanted to be mean to Dr. Eggman in particular, but here's one for you. Do normal Westopolis, Dark Glyphic Canyon, and then when Shadow sees Eggman for the first time, something inside him snaps. Do hero on Cryptic Castle to help Amy, Cream, and Cheese escape, then do pure normal to chase Eggman. When you get to Lava Shelter, activate the defense system. This is not to protect Eggman, but rather to lock the door behind Shadow so he can properly cave in Eggman's skull with a karate chop. Archimedes and the Tortoise. First off, the name. It's based off a supposed paradox involving the Greek mythological hero Achilles and a tortoise, but I guess Archimedes is a reference to logic and problem solving, as in the binary of Digital Circuit and the secret walls of the Cryptic Castle? You also never go straight to the goal ring in this route, so I guess that could be the tortoise aspect? Slow and steady wins the race? Except instead, I challenge you to try this route, dark, dark, hero, dark, hero, dark, to go as quickly as possible. Sonic games are all about speed, but instead of running fast, you perform tasks fast in this route, like the Flash doing the dishes at the Hall of Justice. That just about does it. Ultimately though, I think gamers are becoming too obsessed with the idea of what is canon and what is not, and valuing that over the individual agency of the player. So what if the things that happen are fiction? Make Bart Simpson die, join the Beast and doom humanity. Just have fun, even if it's only temporary. Isn't that what video games are all about? If you know any interesting routes you want to share, feel free to share them in the comments below. I'm Gaming Top 10, and Huey Lewis's favorite route is number 78. One last thing, my game, Ballbastic, is now available on Android and iOS. Check the links in the description if that interests you at all. I actually took a lesson from Shadow the Hedgehog when developing my game. There are levels where you only have to grab a high percentage of the collectibles to proceed, as opposed to 100%. But if you do manage to grab 100% of them, there is a special warp goal. This means players will not pull their hair out looking for the last one.
Hey, don't go there! Yet.
Do you know what Shadow the Hedgehog and SpongeBob SquarePants have in common? Both have had animation done by Studio Blur. Shadow had those high-definition cutscenes, and SpongeBob had that 4D ride. Speaking of SpongeBob...